Hello and welcome to today's video. We are here for another episode of the power rankings here for the Overwatch League, where I'm going to break down my power rankings of the week. Listen, here is the final power rankings of stage number 1. Of course, only the second week we're doing this, but still. So there, of course, will not be video next week for this, because there's no Overwatch League next week. But we're here, so it is time to break down all of stage number 1. And this here will include the stage 1 playoffs, just because I felt like, even though it doesn't really have an impact on what stage 1 was about, I think it really shows where the league could be based on the teams and the performances. So, taking a look here, I just want to say, before we continue, after watching the last 5 weeks of Overwatch League, I get esports now. I didn't get it before. I wasn't really sure about like the hype behind how people are super into it, but it finally like hit me why it's so exciting and why it's so interesting moments ago. Watching the championship for it, for stage 1, it really was just like watching another sport. And I, for the whole time, I don't really know esports, but I definitely understand now. It's the same thing as watching somebody do videos. Watching me play Overwatch. It's something people do. They'll be like, oh, I want to watch the person play Overwatch, or I want to watch the person play this game. It's a similar thing, just on another level. It's a sport instead of someone doing it for fun. They're still doing it for fun, but you get the point. Alright, so we're going to break down our standings. Are also going to go off. We're going to tell you the overall record and their map record. So up first, falling down a little bit, is the Shanghai Dragons. They're 0-10 now. 6-36 on maps. I had them ranked a little bit higher. I had them ranked 11th last week, but they did fall down a little bit. Let's see if I can actually pull up my rankings from last week. That might be beneficial, but I had them down a little bit further. I just felt like they struggled a lot more this week, and I feel like they took a step back from what they had before. And to be honest, I think that they can make a step up. We'll see how they do after stage 1 signings are over, because you can sign players now. So we're going to see how that all went. So there's a lot of tabs I'm trying to move around here. Understandable. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Alright, it's fine. It's fine. So I had Shanghai ranked 11th last week. They are in 12th this week, just because they did struggle on a couple maps, and they struggled against some of the teams that they could have maybe beat. Dallas, they could have maybe beat whatever other team they played against. I forgot what other team they played against, but they definitely struggled against those teams again, and they took, I feel, a step back from where they were heading after almost beating Philadelphia and taking a map from Seoul the week before. So they definitely did take a step back, I feel. Up next on our ranking here, we do have the Los Angeles Gladiators. Now they're 4-6. They're 16-10, but they just, I don't know, they were ranked 10th last week on the power rankings. They were down 1 spot to 11th. They just haven't really seemed good to me. They're just sort of there, honestly. So that's why I ranked them where they are, if I'm honest. Up next, we have ranked 10th, the Florida Mayhem. We had ranked 12 last week. They're 1-8. They're 7-1-28. And the reason I moved them up, they performed pretty well against Philadelphia, if I'm honest. They really did. I think that their performance against Philadelphia, they could have easily beat them. And I don't know, I think that they didn't have that look last week. But this week I feel like they stepped it up. And by almost beating Philadelphia, that's why I moved them up a couple spots. Alright. In 9th, this week we have the Dallas Fuel. This is what we had last week. Dallas Fuel is now 3-7 on the season. They're 14-25-3 on maps. And they've seemed pretty good. I feel like they've stepped up from where they were weeks before. They're sort of, you see those moments where they show you, hey, we're supposed to be a top team in this league. Because they really were. They're supposed to be up there. It's supposed to be London, New York, Seoul, and Dallas. Supposed to be at the top 4. And it hasn't really gone that way with New York and Seoul. Not New York and Seoul. New York and London being at the top. Seoul kind of dropping down a little bit. And then Dallas being way at the bottom. So things really didn't go the way that people expected them to. Alright, this week, coming in number 8th on our rankings is the Philadelphia Fusion. Now the Philadelphia Fusion are 5-4. They're 17-22-1. Now going and looking back, they had an opportunity. They were pretty close to being there to make it into the playoffs in stage 1, but Philadelphia throughout this series has just, they haven't impressed me at all. And they could easily be like 2-7. 2-7? 2-6. No. They would be 2-9. 2-9? 2-2. No, it's 3-7. 1-8. Oh, that's not updated, I guess. I don't know. I'm confused as hell. Either way, they could be pretty low down. Almost losing to, barely beating Houston early in the season. Barely beating Shanghai. Barely beating Florida. So right there, 3 matches that I feel like they could have easily lost. And that would give them 3 more. So they'd have 3 wins. 2 wins. 2 wins. So they could easily be down at the bottom. They definitely haven't shown that they're that good. But I can't rank them lower just because they have won. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm putting them in 8th place. They haven't been great, but they've won. So they're not going to be at the bottom. Number 7, again, is the San Francisco Shock. San Francisco. They are 3-7. They are 16-24-2. They almost took Seoul and beat them, so to me that right there is impressive enough to put them or keep them in 7th where they were last week. And that I think is just good enough, honestly, to beat Seoul is pretty big. Alright, number 6 yet again is the Boston Uprising. And the Boston Uprising, who had they took a couple more maps from Houston, instead of falling to Houston, had they beat them by, I believe, 2 maps, they would have been in the Stage 1 playoffs yesterday. But they were not there. They're 6-4. They're 27-17 on maps. Now these guys are surprising how they're competing. They had some struggles early in the season, but they've really fixed some of their things, and they've come in here to show that they're strong enough, and I feel like you will see Boston in the playoffs in the end of the season. They've been a good team. They performed well, and I think if they don't have their issues early in the season, they could have been up there a 6 or 7-3 team along with the rest that are here on the list. Coming in at number 5 is the Seoul Dynasty. This one hurts me. Hurts me to put them 5th. Last week they were number 2 on my power rankings. Seoul Dynasty is 7-3. They're 25-16-1. Hurts me to put them so far down. It's being my favorite team. They're the background on my MacBook, they're the background on my watch, they're the background on my phone, and they're my Twitter banner. But we gotta be real about it, and I can't just put them first. And Seoul has struggled in the past couple weeks. They came out and started out so well to start off. Think that they were 6-0, and they just dropped a couple matches recently. I think they were 5-0, and they got swept by London. They lost to New York. They lost to Los Angeles Valiant. And just the other day, they almost lost to San Francisco. So that's why. So as it helped San Francisco to put them in 7th, it hurt Seoul to almost lose to them. That's why I ranked them in 5th. Give me in 4th. I have the Houston Outlaws. They were ranked in 5th last week. And the Houston Outlaws are 7-3. They're 30-13. And Houston started out the season 0-2. Went on to win 5 matches in a row. Lost to Seoul. And then won again 2 more matches. Put them 7-3 and put them 2nd overall in the league standings. And 4th on the power rankings here. They got into the Stage 1 playoffs with a win over Boston. Very close match with both of those 2 top teams. Now, actually, that did decide which team I was going to put in this 4th spot. Basically, would I put Houston or Boston there, depending on who won that match. And Houston won, so they got put in the 4th position. Coming in 3rd is the Los Angeles Valiant. They're also 7-3. They're 26-13-3 on maps. And the Valiant, they made a very big statement by winning 3-0 against the Seoul Dynasty. And I think that they can be a top team. Now, I adjust the power rankings throughout the week, and I had them as high as 1st. And 1 week at the power rankings, just because London lost, and I don't believe New York's going to be that top team. I just don't. So I had Los Angeles all the way up to 1st, and as you may know, the results of the playoffs did affect this, and who got in affected this playlist, this list. Okay, let's move on. Number 2 on our list is the New York Excelsior. I had them ranked 4th last week. They are 9-1 on maps, 31-10-2. And New York, I just feel they have a good team. They're 9-1. But I feel like they're going to start losing a little bit, and they're going to be not the top team. I felt that for a while that New York really isn't the best team. It's not like they crushed any of the top or the all-Korean teams, should we say, Seoul and London. They didn't really destroy them. They barely beat Seoul. They beat London and then lost to London, so in the same day. So basically, whoever won the Stage 1 championship would get to be on the top of this list. And that would be the London Spitfire. And London last week was ranked 1st, and they're ranked 1st again. They're 7-3. They're 29-14. Now, they did drop down a little bit on this list after their loss earlier in the week to Houston. And I put them in 2nd. Put New York 1st. And that's when I put Los Angeles 1st, because they're dropped in 2nd. I'm not putting New York 1st. They just haven't seemed like that team was really going to win it. They kind of blew the lead to London, honestly. They were up 2-0 and they lost in the end 3-2 in the championship of Stage 1. And I put London down lower. They lost to Houston, and I'm like, they can't be number 1. You can't stay 1 and then lose to like the team that I've ranked in like 4th or 5th. Then they lost to New York, and I'm like, guess New York's gonna be number 1, so I put London 2nd. Then the playoffs roll around, and they got to play against Houston. So I'm like, okay, this year's gonna be interesting. And I didn't know if I was gonna originally put these teams in after the Stage 1 playoffs, but I figured, you know what? This power ranking is going to affect how the teams actually look. And it's power rankings, not Stage 1 rankings. And London beat Houston. And then they came back against New York, down 2-0. And I just said, that's impressive. They are the best team right now. They're 7-3. 2 of those losses, though, one coming to New York, one coming to Houston. They did beat Seoul 4-0 last week, so that was also pretty impressive. And this is the power rankings overall. Now, of course, this week plays the most into it, but previous weeks do impact power rankings. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? So it's not going to be like Stage 1 or Week 1 isn't way like the same as Week 5. You know, I can't rate Dallas and Houston off that. They would all be at the bottom. Houston would be at the bottom if we were putting Week 1 because they're 0-2. Okay? So what they've done in the past 2 weeks that it plays under, you know what I mean? So Week 4 and 5. So when we do the power rankings for Stage 2, Week 1, it'll be Week 5, and then Week 1 will really play into it. But that is our power rankings. We will be off from this series next week, of course, because there is no Overwatch League next week. But we'll be back in 2 weeks where we take a look at how teams performed in the first round. We may do a power ranking if there's any adjustments to teams by signing. So that might be our Stage 1 or Week 1 power rankings when we go into it. So there might be one next week if some teams announce some signings, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. If teams announce signings between this video going up and next Sunday, then we will do a new power rankings video. So that's probably what we'll do. See where we put teams that are going to sign new players. Shanghai, Florida. You know, those are predictive power rankings. But with that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. We'll see you guys in the next one.